Adam at Trump Sports, enjoying this little hiatus from politics that was going on Super Bowl afternoon through post Super Bowl morning and early afternoon before we get back into things today. Well, for me, the most fun thing the day after the Super Bowl, unless I guess if the Eagles were to win the Super Bowl, which never happens, is seeing the odds for the next year. And they're already out, courtesy of the Westgate in Las Vegas, a place that always looked intriguing to me. I've never actually been in there, though I spend plenty of time in Las Vegas. Uh, and this is in no way something Trump endorses now, though of course he's been in the casino business, but this happens to be the channel I'm focusing most on now. And this is what I want to talk about, and it's an independent channel, so let's talk about these odds. Uh, the favorites, perhaps unsurprisingly, are the Seattle Seahawks, New England, and Pittsburgh at 8-1. Um, Seattle, is going to be good forever with the basis of Russell Wilson, who is a great young quarterback, and unlike Cam Newton, seems to have his head screwed on correctly. You saw Cam Newton not going for the ball when he had that critical fumble in the fourth quarter. You saw his embarrassing display after the game, pouting. Yeah, he was upset, but could you see Russell Wilson doing that kind of thing? No, I couldn't, and that's why Seattle is going to be a top favorite for years, despite the loss of Marshawn Lynch. But the reality is Marshawn Lynch didn't add much this year, and Thomas Rawls is their running back of the future, and he was better than Lynch this year. So the fact that he's retiring most likely is not going to affect them. They're still a great team. New England and Pittsburgh are at 8-1, but let's keep something in mind there. The odds are calculated based on the popularity of the team. Also, New England is getting old. They were beat up by injuries. Brady is, still great, but 6 months, 7 months in the off season, he's going to get 6, 7 months older. But New England is the second most popular team in the country, and Pittsburgh is number one. Certainly, they might have beaten Denver in the playoffs. They would have likely beaten them had they simply had Antonio Brown. Had they not been, had he not received that cheap shot from Vontaze Burfict in the playoffs. Of course, had he not received that cheap shot, Pittsburgh might never have made the field goal, and Denver would have played Kansas City, beaten them. So who knows? But Pittsburgh is going to be a factor. But they're the most popular team in the country, so more betting is going to come on that. That's simply not a factor for the Seattle Seahawks. After that, you have the 3 10-1 teams, all in the NFC. Green Bay, Arizona, and Carolina. And look, they were all good this year. Green Bay was devastated by injuries on its offensive line. And to Jordy Nelson, they're certainly going to be a factor, though they're going to have to compete with Minnesota for the division title. Arizona is strong, and they're going to be battling it out not only with Seattle, but I think the Los Angeles Rams are going to pick it up now that they have their move finalized. I think they were tanking it a little bit the last couple of years to make sure that they could get to LA. And Carolina is obviously a very strong young team, and they're going to get that wide receiver Benjamin, who's probably their best receiver, back next year. But Cam Newton's probably not winning people over, and they may have more generous odds. Simply, they're not one of the more popular teams in the country, so not as much betting action, which would be true of Arizona too. Then you have the two 14-1s, Denver, which won the Super Bowl, but which is probably going to be without Manning, and DeMarcus Ware, as a stalwart on that defense, is not young, and people will be gunning for them. They're going to play a first place schedule, but they've been in first place 5 years in a row, so I don't know if that'll affect things. Cincinnati, to me, is one of the most intriguing picks at 14-1. They're good. They are really good. You remember that playoff game where they had the meltdown, they're going with their backup quarterback. They still have the same talent. To me, 14, they're the first of the really good, the 3 picks, I think would be value play, as they call it there. I'm not someone in gambling. I just enjoy following it. But I'd watch out for the Bengals. Burfict will be a year older. I don't know if you can really say that about Pac-Man Jones because he was already in his 30s when he had that meltdown. But they're a good team, and they're keeping Marvin Lewis for a reason. So that would be my long shot. Dallas 16-1. Yeah, Romo may be back the whole year, but I don't know. There's something wrong with that team. I mean, as long as Jerry's involved, how seriously can you take them? And I just think they're going to go the Johnny Manziel route, which is a mistake. Minnesota 20-1. Some would say that is a strong value play, but Peterson is a year older, and he's such a key part of that team. I just am not buying Teddy Bridgewater that early. Well coached, I just don't see them winning the Super Bowl. Age is going to be a factor for Peterson. I think he's past his prime, and though he was certainly excellent this year, that year of aging, that offseason of aging makes a difference, and he carries that team. Indianapolis 20-1, Kansas City 20-1. Indianapolis was very popular this year. I saw nothing on that team to make me think that they're good. Luck did not progress. Someone has to win that division, but I think we'll get to Houston later. KC 20-1. Look, I'm an Andy Reid fan, and I think they may be a strong pick. They're getting Jamal Charles back. I don't know if Andy Reid can win in the big ones. This isn't about how good they're going to be. This isn't going to be about if they go 14-2 during the season. It's about them winning the Super Bowl. Philadelphia Eagles bias, just not a great big game coach. And Alex Smith, I don't know. New York Jets, intriguing, 30-1. Buffalo Bills, 30-1. Baltimore, 30-1. Baltimore could be, no, they're not that good. And they have Pittsburgh and Cincinnati in their division. New York Jets and Buffalo, look, they have to resolve their quarterback situations, both potentially strong defenses. Two intriguing ones at 40-1, Atlanta and Houston. Atlanta wasn't that far off, at least in the first part of the season. Good young running back. The coach seems to have things together. Who knows? Carolina could get Cam Newton hurt just for that reason alone. Atlanta at 41 becomes a possibility of someone winning the division. Houston's got a strong defense, and someone has to win the AFC South. 41. New York and Washington, 40-1. Again, I'm biased against them as an Eagles fan, but there's just not a whole lot of that team. Some of their wins were just against. New York's being completely rebuilt this year. I mean, no one's expecting them to win. Washington, who knows who their quarterback will be. Chicago and Detroit. Detroit's losing. They're also 40-1, as is New Orleans. New Orleans may have some past reputation. I think their defense is a mess. Detroit, they're losing Calvin Johnson. That's a huge loss. They've never taken it to the next level. Caldwell may be a dead man walking if he even makes it to next season. Chicago, I don't know. I mean, if Adam Gase was such a great offensive coordinator, they're losing him. I just don't see the progress there. Now, again, I'm biased. 50-1, Philadelphia. Okay, I know that they're a mess, but Chip Kelly was such a disaster and someone has to win that division. Philadelphia could easily go 6-0 in that division. They have a lot of defensive talent. They even have some offensive talent, but Kelly was nuts. The players couldn't stand him. They weren't playing for him. I just don't know. I don't have any reason to think that they're great, but they're going to have a fairly easy schedule next year. And who's going to play quarterback? I don't know, but even Mark Sanchez might be able to take them to the playoffs. They sneak a few wins, and again, they have some really good defensive players. I'm talking especially about Fletcher Cox and Vinny Curry, who they just re-signed. Tampa Bay is on the rise, 50-1, but I think Carolina and Atlanta are still the teams to beat in that division, and who knows if Winston will progress in his second year. Here's an intriguing pick. The Los Angeles Rams. I think they were tanking it the last few years, 50-1. Probably worth 50-1. Seattle could have an injury to Russell Wilson. Arizona, just Carson Palmer could be a year older. They played perfect this season. LA has a great defense, and their offense can't be any worse than they were this year. Who knows? Miami 51 stands to benefit. Not that bad coaching situation. New England's got to slip one of these years. I don't know about Tennessee at 50-1. Jacksonville's on the rise, but 50-1 probably accurate. Oakland's a little bit intriguing at 50-1. They're getting better. Denver and KC may not be progressing anymore. San Diego was devastated by injuries, 50-1. San Francisco, 60-1. I don't know if my thought on San Francisco, which is the second highest odds in football, is that part of the appeal for Chip Kelly there is that they're not going to be expected to win because Seattle and Arizona are so strong right now. LA could be very strong. He really has 2-3 years to work with on that experiment in a unique situation, which would be unique only to San Francisco. They can't be expected to win. They have the new stadium, the money's coming in. Chip Kelly may be able to implement his system, which I think is a crock, of course. But we'll see. Talk to me in 2019 about whether that's working out. He'll be able to get his own guys in there. He could trade a lot of first-round picks for a lot of fourth-round picks who get his system. Who knows? Finally, Cleveland, 200-1. They're not winning anything. They're a mess. Okay, so there you go. There are your Super Bowl 51, which goes back to being LI, not the number 51. Those are your odds for next year. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be. I just find this interesting. Adam Taxon, Trump Nation.